Because today we oftentimes preach such a simple gospel, and the gospel is simple, thankfully, but we avoid the difficult topics. Jonathan Edwards was a great reformer, a great preacher, of course, who lived in New England, and he preached a very famous sermon, Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God. Today, people mock the sermon. But I'd like to just simply read part of it as I quote it in my book, so that people might grasp what he was saying, and then ask the question, is this biblical or isn't it? It is very vivid, so I suggest that you brace yourself. But here's Jonathan Edwards. There is nothing that keeps wicked men at any one moment out of hell but the mere pleasure of God. There is no want in God's power to cast wicked men into hell at any moment. They deserve to be cast into hell, so divine justice never stands in the way. They are now the objects of that very same anger and wrath that is expressed in the torments of hell. Yea, God is a great deal more angry with great numbers that are now on earth, yea, doubtless with some who read this book, he says, who may be at ease. He's more angry at them than he is with many who are now in the flames of hell. And then listen to this. Unconverted men walk over the pit of hell on a rotten covering, and there are innumerable places in this covering so weak that they will not bear their weight. And those places are not seen. There is the dreadful pit of the glowing flames of the wrath of God. There is hell's wide, gaping mouth open, and you have nothing to stand on, nor anything to take hold of. There is nothing between you and hell but air. It is only the power and the mere pleasure of God that holds you up. His wrath burns against you like fire. He looks upon you as worthy of nothing else than to be thrown into the fire. You hang by the slender thread, with the flames of divine wrath flashing about it, and ready every moment to singe it and to burn it asunder. Now, when is the last time we've heard preaching like this in our churches? But when you study the biblical doctrine of hell, what you discover is Edwards was not exaggerating. And I don't think that we can really reclaim America until we understand the full gospel and its implications. As long as we think that we are inviting Jesus into our hearts simply because we want to live better lives and be better people, we are missing the real point of the gospel, which is this, that when Jesus died on the cross, thankfully, he took our hell. And in those 3 hours when he was under God's wrath, he endured what you and I should endure throughout all of eternity, but he bore it. As an old song says, death and the curse were in our cup. O Christ, 'twas full for thee, but thou hast drained the last dark drop. 'Tis empty now for me. Is it any wonder that so many of us love Jesus Christ? From time to time, I meet people who have had near-death experiences, and of course I've read about them. Bottom line, the person dies, he usually sees light, and he believes that he has met Jesus, and in the words of one woman, Jesus showed me many paths and said, this is the Buddhist path, this is the Hindu path, this is the Christian path. You can choose any path that you like, and they all come to the center. God is the center, and the different religions are spokes that bring you to the center. Now, the answer to the question of near-death experiences is very interesting. Number one, the Bible clearly says that Satan is an agent of light, not darkness, but light. The scripture says he appears as an angel of light. Please keep that in mind. Secondly, another reason that this is huge deception is because it is so contrary to what the Bible teaches. If you believe in this near-death experience and believe on that basis that you will be saved, you are contradicting Jesus. And when it comes to the issue of what lies on the other side of the curtain, I personally go with Jesus rather than some near-death experience. There's a big difference, between a near-death experience and actually dying. One day I was on a plane sitting next to a woman whose name was Shirley. It was not Shirley MacLaine, but her name was Shirley. She said, I'm into reincarnation, and she said, I can prove reincarnation. I said, tell me more. She said, what happened is I received visions about a house in Vermont that I lived in the 18th century. She said, I'd never been to Vermont in this life, but I knew about the house. And later on, when I visited Vermont, I discovered that everything was exactly as I knew it to be. She said, my description, without having seen it in this life, was accurate. I looked at her, and whenever you're on a plane, especially when you're sitting right next to someone and you're going to give them some hard truth, you'll always smile. So I smiled and I said, Shirley, would you mind if I were to give you a New Testament interpretation of your experience? She said, oh, no, that's fine. I said, I want you to know that there's no such thing as transmigration of souls, but there is transmigration of demons. I said, you are into demonism, and what you have received into your mind comes from evil spirits, not from some previous soul that existed. She became indignant and she said, I have nothing to do with evil spirits. She said, I receive only those that come to me clothed in light. I said, Shirley, there's a verse in the Bible that was written just for you. I pointed out 2 Corinthians that Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. And she said she received only those spirits that are clothed in light. Those are demonic spirits. And what we need to do is to understand that reincarnation is not biblical. It is a very mean doctrine.